Good morning. This is Mother of Two, and I am here to talk to you about Dan Wootton and his projecting. Byline Time has written another article on July 28th, and they have got their foot on Dan Wootton's neck, and I love it. Now, before I start the article, I would like for you to like, share, or subscribe to my channel because it really helps my channel grow. So, the name of the article or the title of the article is Mail Online and the Sun Hid Serious Dan Wootton Claims While Attacking Hugh Edwards and the BBC. The article was written by Dan Evans, who worked for Byline Times. The first paragraph. Neither publications has since reported at all on the 3-year special investigation into the personal and professional conduct of Wootton that Byline Times started breaking 11 days ago. Yet the Sun did cover Wootton's denials in a 143-word piece on July 20th. News UK, its publisher, has since set up an internal inquiry, and Mail Online has unofficially paused Wootton's column. However, the failure of Publishers Associated newspaper and News UK to act sooner is attracting strong criticism, given both took aim at the BBC during the same period for its handling of the Hugh Edwards affair. Of course, they were projecting. Next paragraph. The fact that Dan Wootton's employers and previous employers knew of allegations against him and did nothing for at least 6 weeks before Byline Times started reporting them means that the public interest here is not just on his alleged actions, but their actions too, as supposedly responsible publishers and employers. Paul Ragg, professor of media law at the University of Leeds, told this newspaper. Today, in the latest part of Byline Times, Media 2 investigation into abuses of power in publishing and broadcasting, we can reveal how the ex-adult entertainer first contacted Mail Online on May 29th amid a mounting scandal about the former ITV This Morning presenter, Philip Schofield, and his lawful relationship with the younger man he worked with. In a subsequent email to Mail Online on May 31st, the man, who we are not naming for legal reasons, wrote, after Philip Schofield, the next one on This Morning who should be investigated is Dan Wootton, the presenter previously worked on the magazine show. The porn star stated, I am an ex-porn star and escort. I have worked for Dan on several occasions. The things he asked, well, let me start this over and let me get a drink of water first. Okay. So the porn star stated, I am an ex-porn star and escort. I have worked for Dan on several occasions. These things he has asked me to do were illegal. He used to ask us to film others without their consent. He also used to pay myself and others to use our Facebook profiles and message who he wanted us to encounter with. How much for a story like this? I have more information on him. Wootton has denied any allegations of criminality. The complainant has since told Byline Times that his interaction with the now GBC News star left him suicidal and living a chaotic life of self-medicating drug use and mental trauma. Communications with Mail Online continued until this Wednesday, July 26th, during which the man says he was told it could not consider reporting on Wootton because he was an employee of Associated Newspapers. Wait a minute. Communications with Mail Online continued until this Wednesday, July 26th, during which the man says he was told it could not consider reporting on Wootton because he was an employee of Associated Newspaper. Oh, okay. Well, of course, they're not going to report on him. They're protecting him. After that, I went to the Sun and told him about Wootton and the Amber Heard stuff, evidence of which they obviously have on their own account system. After lots of calls, they just said it was for the police to deal with, not them. It was for the police to deal with, not them. But they were the same organization who went in on Peter Schofield and Hugh Edwards. I mean, it was relentless attacks. Next paragraph. They said there wasn't any evidence, even though I directly involved. I even told them the name of the account's person who dealt with it. I was really surprised they didn't seem interested. Byline Times has verified the email and other communications with Mail Online and can confirm that at least 8 phone calls were made to and from the Sun news desk between June 7th and July 27th about Wootton, who last night was still presenting a primetime show on GB News. During this period, both Mail Online and The Sun broke stories about Hugh Edwards, who is no longer on the air for the BBC and has been receiving help, according to his wife, with serious mental health issues. In a defense of his articles about Edwards, which have been heavily criticized, The Sun wrote in a comment piece on July 13th, a desperate couple approached us with firm evidence that he was paying large sums to a young person with a spiraling drug addiction and that the star had been sent sexual pictures. But police said nothing could be done, and despite a detailed complaint to the BBC, it did nothing either. What do our critics, especially Mr. Edwards' pious media friends, think we should have done? Told the family to shove off? Turned a blind eye to what appeared to be a clear abuse of power by a household name? Mail Online has been similarly critical of the BBC for posing as the moral conscience of the nation over the Edwards saga. On Wednesday, its columnist Brenda O'Neill wrote, their authoritarian urge to elevate certain stories and diminish others robs ordinary people of the right to know what is really happening in this country. There is nothing virtuous. Make sure I said that right. Okay, so there is nothing virtuous about it. On the contrary, there are the despotic antics of people who think they should have the power to control the flow of misinformation itself. For Professor Ragg, Dan Wootton has set himself up as a moral arbiter whose job it is to condemn others for moral flaws. And that means that his own moral flaws are a matter of clear public interest. Now, I know damn well they didn't sit on here and say that Dan Wootton has set himself up as a moral arbiter whose job it is to condemn others for moral flaws. This man lies every day. He smears every day. He bullies every single day. And he's not the type of person who will bully various people. He will find a prey and he would attack and bully that person relentlessly. The nerve. Next paragraph. He is a man who has been instrumental in exposing the highly sensitive details of the private lives of many people in public life, including the television presenter Philip Schofield and the music entertainer Duncan James, he told the Byline Times. Wootton has been projecting, in my opinion. He's made a career out of subjecting others to vitriol by now seems to want He made a career out of subjecting others to vitriol, but now seems to want the protection of the law as a matter of privacy and defamation now that his own alleged actions are being subjected to scrutiny. Of course he is. He added, during this precise time frame, the Sun was breaking a big story about the BBC news anchor Hugh Edwards. And it seems extraordinary that they would not have taken the opportunity to refer the serious allegations against Mr. Wootton to the police themselves. At the very least, this inaction and the decision by Mail Online to allow Mr. Wootton to continue to publish columns under its name seriously undermines the moral stance it has. It also undermines their credibility as a serious news organization. This is a clear ethical failing that IPSO, the press complaints handler, should investigate, given that it claims to uphold high editorial standards. IPSO doesn't uphold shit. Excuse my language. Remember the Jeremy Clarkson article that was written about Meghan Markle? It was horrible. It was disgusting. IPSO took months to come up with a conclusion. And its conclusion was basically what we already know. The article was a mess, but they didn't do anything about it. Why? Because they are all in cahoots. Jeremy Clarkson is still working. He's still doing his thing. They're protecting him. IPSO is garbage. Moving right along. Wootton has written 5 columns to Mail Online since the man first contacted it with his allegations. In one column on May 30th, Wootton discussed Philip Schofield saying, I would have thought in this day and age that a mainstream broadcaster such as ITV ought to be seen to be doing all it can to deal with issues like this. Find out where the truth lies and, in the meantime, suspend those who the rumors concern. Starting with you, Dan Wootton, you should be suspended. Wootton also called for the truth, this time, not the fairy tale Schofield offered up on the sofa to an unexpected British public. Okay, let me say this all over again. Wootton also called for truth, this time, not the fairy tale Schofield offered up on the sofa to an unexpected British public. Yeah, that was the time he got his mother out of the retirement home, took her to the park, and brought cameras so that he can garner sympathy. It was a hot mess, and it shouldn't have never happened. Next paragraph. In a follow-up column on June 15th, Wootton wrote of ITV's treatment of the Schofield affair. As a result of this cover-up and a PR disaster that has followed, many loyal viewers will never trust This Morning or the channel is broadcast on again. And they won't trust GB. Well, we've already had, who would want to trust GB News? GB News is the equivalent of Fox News. But to be honest with you, I think GB News is worse because they have Dan Wootton on there. I do. Byline Times put a series of questions connecting to this article to News UK and Associated Newspaper, but received no response. This newspaper will update this article if it does. A spokesperson for the Metropolitan Police said in June 2023, the Metropolitan Police was contacted with regards to the allegation of sexual offenses committed by a man. Officers are assessing information to establish whether any criminal offense has taken place. There is no police investigation at this time. Can you believe there is no police investigation after all the evidence that was given to them? I think the Metropolitan Police is in cahoots with Rupert Murdoch because Rupert Murdoch is over everything. The government, the MPs, the royal family. People fear Rupert Murdoch. IPSO fear Rupert Murdoch. The Metropolitan Police fears Rupert Murdoch. There will be no investigation unless Byline Times keep their foot on Dan Wootton's neck. So what we need to do is to continue to support Byline Times by subscribing to their articles, donating to them, clicking on their articles, or sharing their articles so that more people would know what is going on. Ooh, man, this is something else. Thank you, Byline Times, for investigating and putting it out there, because I know you guys are receiving heat. But hey, they're doing what they are supposed to do, and I appreciate that. Have a good morning, everyone.